Okay, it's officially 1:30. So hello everyone, my name is Lydia Connor. I'm the summer nutrition intern at Gleaner's Food Bank, and today we're going to be doing a family cooking demo. So I decided that I wanted to make zucchini boats because we have had an abundance of zucchini in our garden. It was one of the first things to be ready to be harvested, and so they're still going strong. And zucchini are so versatile because they kind of have a mild flavor, so you can really do a ton of different things with them, from putting them in zucchini bread, zucchini brownies. You can roast them in the oven with Parmesan. I've even put them in an omelet, and I've also snuck them into homemade popsicles. So today we'll be making zucchini boats, and I'll be making a cheeseburger flavor and a curry flavor. So, and then I'll also have a handout available with 5 different recipes for different flavors available, and that's actually already on the page if you wanted to look at that and follow along on the recipe. But I'm gonna start, well, I've already started, and I'm working on browning the meat because that kind of takes a while, and most of everything that I'm going to be using today has already been prepped because I wanted to save some time, but I did want to show you how I make the boats. So zucchini is actually really awesome because you can cut it with a butter knife. You don't have to use any fancy knives or anything like that. It's really soft, so all you have to do is take your butter knife, chop off the ends, and if you're a kid helping out at home, this can be one of your jobs. It's pretty easy, and like I said, the knife is not very sharp, but it does the job. So just slice it in half along the length, and then you're going to take a spoon and scoop out the seeds on the inside of the zucchini. And you're going to leave about ½ an inch of the flesh around the skin to eat in your boat. There's one. I already have one prepped today. These recipes are actually going to make about 6 to 8 servings per recipe, but I'm only going to be making some today, so I'll be putting just 4 of them in the oven. So I've put the zucchini down on a parchment paper lined pan. I'm actually going to preheat the oven to 400. And let that preheat while I prepare the fillings. So as I mentioned, I've already started browning the meat, and since meat is usually pink, you just literally want to cook it until there's no more pink left. And since I started this early, it's looking like it's about ready. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and I'm going to get the curry recipe started. So for the curry recipe, you just need to use like a teaspoon of olive oil on your pan. First turn it on to kind of medium-low, because you're going to saute your onion and garlic. So this is the onion. I'm going to use a scraper to get the rest of it. And then about ½ a teaspoon of jarred minced garlic is the equivalent of a clove of garlic, and I'm cutting this recipe in half today, otherwise it would be 2 cloves. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir and let it saute for about 5 minutes until the onions start to become a little bit more translucent. So one thing I always remember, especially if you're working with kids, is to make sure that the handle of your pan is out of the reach of little children just because they are very curious and they want to be a part of it, which is great, but since it's hot, it could be really dangerous, so just try to keep the handle away. I'm right-handed, so it's a little tricky here, but I try to just keep the handle in the back. And then next, I wanted to show you, since the meat is about done, I wanted to show you a little trick. If you don't want to drain your meat, my mom actually showed me this. You take a paper towel and kind of move all your meat to one side of the pan and use your utensil to hold your meat in place and tilt your pan so that some of the grease goes to the other side. And then use your paper towel to just gently sop it up. Be really careful not to burn yourself because this can be kind of hot, so give yourself enough space so that you have enough area to grab the paper towel without touching the oil. And then you just discard it in an old coffee can. I'm actually going to use another paper towel to get just a little more of the grease. Next, I'm going to add some garlic to this one, and this one will be about a tablespoon of minced garlic. We're kind of running out, so I'm just trying to scoop out what I can get. That's about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to add a can of drained diced tomatoes. You can also use crushed tomatoes, but we found that our crushed tomatoes were more of a puree, so you may use less of it if it's a puree consistency. So we're actually using the crushed tomatoes for the other recipe, and it kind of looks like a marinara / tomato sauce. And then I'm also going to add 1/4 teaspoon of both salt and pepper to this pan. And then we're just going to let this cook for a little bit to marry the flavors and also cook off any excess liquid. Give this a little stir. These are not going very fast, but that's okay. Maybe I'll turn the heat up just a little bit. So as you wait for some of the water to evaporate, you can give it a little stir here and there just to make sure none of it really gets burnt. And then I'm also going to turn this one down to a low temperature while it simmers. Alright, so now I'm going to add a tablespoon of curry powder to the pan with the onions and garlic and stir that up to coat it. If you're following along on the recipe handout, you'll notice it's a little bit more curry powder, and that's because I just want to remind you that I'm cutting the recipe in half today. And then you can also add some other spices and seasonings to this mixture. Curry powder already has like a combination of its own, but if your family is like mine and you like a little bit more spice, you can add either cayenne pepper or chili pepper. Other options include turmeric, cilantro, salt, pepper, whatever you have on hand and whatever you think sounds good. I would just advise adding a little bit at a time. And then I'm going to add the crushed tomatoes. And some chickpeas to the pan. So that was about half a can of chickpeas, and yeah. So I'm going to mix this up just a little bit, and we'll wait for it to reduce a little bit if there's any excess water in the pan. Alright, so while we're waiting for these to cook down a little bit, I'm going to microwave some leftovers so I can show you the final product without you guys having to wait for the oven. Just gonna give these a little stir one more time. These are kind of looking like they are ready, well, at least the cheeseburger one. So then with the cheeseburger recipe, I'm going to add, it calls for a whole cup of cheese, but use about a half a cup to mix in right off the bat, and then keep some for topping. So I'll show you guys how I do that. I'm gonna just sprinkle it in and mix it together. I kind of fold it up a little bit. If you're in the Summer Nutrition Club, you know what that means. It does not matter what type of cheese you use. You can use whatever cheese you have on hand. I like shredded cheese because it really sprinkles well, but you could honestly probably use block cheese too, since it's just going to melt. Or if you have a cheese grater, you can also grate the block cheese too. And then I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of this yogurt. I have Greek yogurt, but you can also use regular yogurt. Greek yogurt has a little bit more protein, but regular yogurt has a good amount of protein too, and we've got protein from the chickpeas. So, and this is just going to give it a really nice creamy consistency, kind of like curry. And this will also cut down a little bit on the spice if you're sensitive to spiciness. If you're not sensitive to spiciness and you love spicy food, you may even want to add some more. So take caution though. Okay, so then the last step is going to be to fill the zucchini boats, and I'm just going to do one of each right now. But it's really easy to just take a spoon or your utensil you're using to cook and just spoon it in. Try to get it as full as possible. I would recommend filling it over the pan like I am, because sometimes it's kind of messy. And there's the one, the cheeseburger. And then I'm gonna use a spoon for this one, because this utensil isn't as Spoonie. Those just go back on the pan, and this will go in the oven once the oven has preheated. But since I reheated some pre-made boats, I will show you how I top those. So here's what they look like when they come right out of the oven and when they come right out of the microwave. They're really steamy, the cheese is really melty. This one doesn't have any cheese, but yeah, I'll show you what I add on top. So for the cheeseburger one, you can add, honestly, so many different things. There are a ton of things you can put on cheeseburgers, but I always like the classic ketchup. So I like to do a drizzle of ketchup. And of mustard. And then if you like pickles, we actually don't have pickles, but relish kind of does the same thing. And you can just kind of plop some on. And then another great addition would be green onions or any other type of onion you like, and it adds kind of a little bit of a crunch. Just sprinkle that on. Or, like I said, if you are a fan of spicier food, you can add jalapeno peppers, and that would be a really great addition. So, and then as far as the curry one goes, I think this one would be really great with cilantro or another fresh herb or just some green onions. So I'm just gonna do that. And then if you find that the curry one is a bit too spicy for your liking, depending on who all in your family is eating it, you gotta cater to everyone. You can add like another dollop of the yogurt on top, and it kind of tastes like sour cream, and it'll help with the heat a little bit. So there is our finished product. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you try it at home, if you have any questions, leave it below. But yeah. There's the oven preheating. I'm gonna go ahead and bake the rest of them, but I will see you guys next time.